How to save money on construction projects. I'm excited about this video because there are some very, very key, and I would call them neat, ways to save money on projects, and they're very counterintuitive. You won't naturally think about this. Like this, in the world of project management, this is not the first thing somebody would think, but these are tried, true, and proven methodologies to spend less money on a construction project, and I'm going to tell them to you right now. Okay, so number one, pre-construction. Pre-construction really is where money is saved. And I've talked about this book so many times, they should probably start paying me royalties at this point. I'm just kidding. But the book, How Big Things Get Done, goes through a database of over 16, probably now 24,000 representative projects from around the world. And that database understands and has identified that a failure to plan in pre-construction with the right trained team, with the right systems, is the main root cause for project failure. So pre-construction done well is what will reduce your overall costs, even if you're spending money on pre-construction. Now, if somebody doesn't know how to do pre-con, they can waste some money. But if you do it well, you're designing the project, you're planning the project, you're doing feasibility studies, not just the normal development feasibility studies, but as a build, and you're bringing in the team, and you're understanding how much this will cost, and coming up with strategies from a schedule, quality, and installation standpoint that will allow it to be cheaper. The other thing is you will have less major risks or impacts, what the book How Big Things Get Done calls black swans, or the book Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss talks about black swans, these big problems, right? We are going to remove those, reduce those, get rid of those, see those ahead of time, come up with mitigation strategies for those, and embrace strategies that will reduce the cost. Now, if you're implementing lean, maybe not for the first time, but for the second and third, you should be able to outsource materials. You should be able to set up lean logistics staging. You should be able to get better numbers from your trade partners. You should be able to run it more properly without using your contingency. You should be able to operate off of a more streamlined team. So one of the biggest strategies that you'll do to save money is to implement lean properly at scale throughout the project. And this is very, 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 very possible. Good relationships with trades, proper installations, good quality from the start, no rework, right? Making sure that we're on a flow so that the trades actually can make money and we're not overshooting the project, handling logistics properly. I could go on, but this is one of the main strategies. The other one, and this is key, is design optimization, right? This, like, let's say for instance, there's a bottleneck in the schedule, and this is really pulling the end date out and costing us more money from a GC's GR standpoint. We can design to that bottleneck and narrow it, or we can select systems that are more affordable for the overall project. This is a phenomenal way to do it. Which leads me into trade partner involvement. Yes, I said it. And typically, and I'm not saying take advantage of them, but if you sign them up, you can typically get some pretty good advice in pre-construction that will help you to reduce costs. They're super sharp about, hey, let's use this material type, let's do this, let's change how this is routed throughout the building, right? Bring in early design assist efforts with trade partners. There are ways to do it without blowing a lot of money, and work with them to get those costs down real time. You can't do it without trade partners. There's no GC anywhere in the world that is sharp enough to get these costs down without the trade partner involvement, because that's the way Frederick Taylor set us up, with everybody being segregated. Well, of course you have schedule acceleration. Of course you have less rework. Of course you have more team buy-in. Of course you have less cost because of poor coordination. Of course you have waste reduction. You have all those things in order for you to get the project down. But another main one is a really, really intense procurement, delivery, and logistics system. I've mentioned it a little bit already, but making sure that we're buying from the right places, making sure that we are buying in bulk where necessary and where it fits the project, making sure we're sourcing from the proper locations from around the world, and making sure that we're selecting intelligently the right types of equipment and getting them on time so we don't have to expedite. There are lots of different ways to expedite a project and to save money while you're doing it, but it comes mostly with pre-planning, proper management, implementing lean, getting ahead, and involving everybody in an integrated system. It never comes from rushing, it never comes from cutting, it never comes from panicking, it never comes from reducing, and it never comes from toxic classical business management. So I'll put this all in a nice blog post for you in the description below, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.